behind me is the old work truck. Now, it is running and driving under its own power finally. It's been a couple weeks, and knock on wood, it's still going. Now, I might be a little paranoid because of what all happened before. I've been driving without the radio on and listening for things, and I keep hearing things, and I tell myself, no, that's the exhaust, no, that's the suspension, no, this is that. So far, it's holding up extremely well, and I've done a couple more burnouts, and it's still holding up. I've even marked the pinion nut and the threads on the pinion, just see if they've ever backed off, and nope, they're holding strong. So, there we go. It's been a couple weeks driving back and forth to work, the interstate, the highways, doing pretty good. So, the only issue I had with the rear end wasn't really the rear end. I had to go ahead and replace the brake hose, the rear brake hose that goes to the T, to each drum. Should have done that a while back, but I didn't. Started to notice some issue with the brakes, got that fixed, lined out, pretty good. So, now that that is taken care of, other than correcting the speedometer, which I'll fix later, right now, the motor mounts, well, they're shot. I was going to replace them before, but that's the next thing I need done because they're just horrible. So, if you recall, I mentioned I'm going to have to pull the headers off because the way the bolt is going on the driver's side. Luckily, clear is fine on the passenger side, but, well, I'm going to have to do what I have to do before I can even replace the mounts. Those headers have got to go, but I got a new set to replace them anyway. Now luckily, I've already broke this loose once, so it's pretty easy to get the bolt out on, well, both sides actually, because I've already done both of them. That's how I found out, well, that bolt wasn't going to come out with those headers on. Now with the other headers that are going to go on here, it might be a little bit easier. But right now, well, it's going to be a lot easier to work and do this without the headers in the way anyway. So, let's go ahead and take care of this. Once I get these mounts changed out, obviously, got a little painting to do while I got all this apart. Then, put the new mounts in. We should be ready to get the headers on. Alright, now this is while I was changing the motor mounts. You can see those are the old headers that were on the work truck. I got them for free because they were in a scrap pile from a friend of mine. I've had to weld them up numerous times because they leaked, but they were free, so can't complain. Now here's what's going on it. Hooker competition headers. They are ceramic coated. I picked these up pretty cheap from a guy. He's never ran them. Had them sitting in his shop for a while. I think they'll fit just fine from the looks of it. Now the primary tube's quite a bit bigger than those, which normally on an engine like in the work truck is close to stock as it is. I wouldn't recommend the larger primaries, but with the rear gear ratio in it now, plus the gear ratio of first and second gear with the transmission, I don't think it's going to be an issue. Well, I started putting the exhaust on, and I'm going to run into some issues. I'm just going to change them out. I don't want to, but I'm going to have to. You can see I'm hitting there. See, come straight out right there. So, I guess, luckily I have another set. So I really didn't want to use these. They're cheap stainless steel ones that someone gave me. I really didn't want to use these on this truck. But those are shot. Those are worn out. I really don't feel like using them because they leak everywhere. It doesn't matter what kind of gaskets and sealants I use. They're just shot. They're rusting through. They've been welded on who knows how many times at this point. Like I said, they're just gone. So, unfortunately, guess I'm going to be using these. But I've already put these on about 4 times, beat some of the tubes, and I'm making it work. Now, the biggest deal about these, I did get these for free. When buying cheap headers, you always run into fitment issues. And that's what I try to tell a lot of people. Is that you buy cheap headers, you get fitment issues, much like this. Number 1 tube is beat halfway in, just clear the engine mount. I did plan on building the whole exhaust today, but it looks like I won't get to. Luckily, so I bolt this down, all I got left is putting the plugs in, putting the plug wires back on. Alright, so once again, more issues. Got 1 spark plug left, and it's number 1. It ain't going in. I've crawled up under there and actually tried to beat the tube upward because I can't get the plug in, the tube is in the way. Which means once I get the plug on there, or the plug wire, it's probably going to be touching anyway. Even if I beat it out a little bit more so that this will fit, probably burn the plug wire. As much as I don't want to do it, I guess those old rusty headers are going to go right back on here. Because if I got to take that off to beat that tube anymore, I ain't putting them back on. So, I hate to do it, but those headers are coming back off. Well, seems that I pretty much wasted the day installing headers and uninstalling them several times. But, back to the old school Mr. Gaskets. And let me tell you something. If one never tells you anything's junk because it's old, don't listen to them. If it wasn't for as much rust as these had on them, these would be perfect still because guess what? They fit like a glove. They especially fit now that the motor mounts are new and everything's sitting right. And at least I can bolt up my X-pipe and have all that taken care of, and then redo the back half of the exhaust Then when I get new headers, because I want to go larger primaries anyway, I just change headers and all I got to do is basically the collectors up front, and should have a pretty good exhaust by then. As you can see now, button it up. Alright, so everything's tightened down and good. See, there's a different color blue on the engine. Same blue, matches the rotors on the back. Really like that blue. Use that blue. So changing old blue on the truck. Obviously the filter is just one color blue. I can't change that. But dipstick's painted, the block, the pulleys, and the alternator bracket. So it's a start. And don't worry, the exhaust is coming up. I've spent too many hours on this truck today. Exhaust. Then I got a little tune up and a little dress up to do to this thing, because you already see change of color on the pulleys and everything on the block. Actually going to be a little more dress up changes to this engine now that the mounts are changed, because, well, I got ideals. And just this morning I had another thought of something to do to this, because that flat hood, sorry, boring to me. That didn't take long, did it? But you know what? Even though really only changes the motor mounts, and well, technically I changed headers multiple times today, but really the only thing I got done was a little bit of paint and the motor mounts, which it needed them. I still hope you enjoyed this episode. As always, thanks for watching.